out of 59, so there's another 53, but six of them make up the vast majority of the human body, over 99%. And you have a shot at what those six are?
Uh, I'm guessing it's the main organs. I'm guessing the liver would be one of them. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean,
So,
you're right to go for, say, obviously the organs, but they are comprised of chemical elements. So
all
I'm
right,
just
the
wondering if
chemicals.
it's the
All right.
chemicals really.
Right, okay, chemicals. Mercury would be one of them.
Which one?
Mercury.
Mercury.
Yeah.
No,
Is
no. There, I can tell you, there's no mercury in the human body.
there none?
I mean, there's one or two more obvious ones. For example, the ones we breathe. You can think of.
Yeah.
We have a lot of. What do we breathe?
The oxygen.
Oxygen. Yeah. Well, okay. Well, let's go with that one because the 61% of our body
Yeah.
is made up of oxygen.
Right.
61% of the space in our body is oxygen. Now,
Yeah.
it's a very lightweight, almost weightless, odorless gas. But the reason, I suppose, we don't, if it's 61% of it filling us up, the reason we don't float around like balloons is
Yeah.
because it's usually messing around with, or it's paired up with hydrogen, which takes up
Right.
another 10%. So
Right.
together, 71% of us is made up of hydrogen and oxygen, which is, I guess, nearly three quarters. Now,
Right.
do we know what hydrogen and oxygen make?
Hydrogen and oxygen would make carbon dioxide.
No, no, good guess. But in
Right.
fact, two parts hydrogen, one part oxygen. And this is a bit of a quirk of nature because they are both very, very lightweight,
Right.
odorless gases, right? They weigh virtually nothing in that form. But
Right.
together they make water, H2O, of course. They make water.
All
Now,
right.
it's a, it's a quirk of nature, isn't it? Because two very lightweight gases
Yeah.
making a surprisingly heavy material. And if you've ever tried to pull a paddling pool full of water across the grass, you'll know how heavy water is. Even getting your sort of wet stuff out of the washing machine, you realize
Mm.
how heavy the
Yeah.
clothes are compared to when you put them in. So water is a very, very strange result of those two gases coming together. Now
Mm.
the other ones that make up those six are nitrogen, calcium, phosphorus, carbon. That's in there as well. So those six account for over 99%. A couple of others. Well, we have some tin and copper in us, which you
Yeah.
wouldn't think, would you? But it's sort of parts per million or parts per billion, varying amounts. Others, one called molybdenum, and it's actually used in the making of steel, which is
Right.
incredible. The reason for that is this molybdenum has a melting point of 2,500 degrees or thereabouts, and a
Yeah.
boiling point of 4,500. So it doesn't liquefy, and alloy steel, which is a mixture of iron and carbon, is joined together with this incredibly strong molybdenum. Well, that helps us in our bodies as well because it's
Yeah.
found in food, things like beans, peanuts, beef liver, stuff like that. So we absorb that. And what it does for us, actually, very important metal that's actually carrying out a very vital. Very important metal that's actually carrying out a very vital function for us. But you wouldn't think a metal that goes into steel making would be in our bodies. Another one is chromium. You know, we see chrome on cars sometimes, don't we? And that is, again, a very hard metal. And that is generally used. for, just trying to think what that one's used for. Yeah, it sort of regulates blood sugar. It helps the insulin production. So again, very vital parts of making a human being. Okay,
Wow.
so that's where we are. Um, six of these gases, chemicals making up the vast majority of our body.
Yeah.
Now, the strange thing about it all is that they then try to cost what these things would cost. How much would it cost to make Benedict Cumberbatch? Now, they said the oxygen would be about £9 to fill the body. They
Yeah.
said the hydrogen about £10. The nitrogen, I think they said, was £1, but then it gets a bit more expensive. So I don't know how this will, it doesn't equate at all with the American version of it or what the biology teacher said. The carbon, there's £30 worth, that's weight, so just over 2 stones of carbon in us, and that will cost about £44,000. These were figures from 2013. And the
Wow.
remaining ones, calcium, potassium, phosphorus, another £47,000. So what they ultimately found was that to build Benedict Cumberbatch, or a replica of him, would cost about £97,000. So what do you make of that? Do you think that is reasonable to build a replica human being?
I think I have questions.
I thought you might have a question. Ask me a question. Go on.
Now, did we mention water as one of the chemicals, or one of the components?
Yeah. Which one?
Did we mention water? Is water one of it?
Well, no. It
Oh,
becomes one, doesn't it? Because you've got the 60% of oxygen, 10% of hydrogen, and
yeah,
together they make up a lot of water. And in the same way, we know the brain is made up of 70% of water. So that
right.
70% of the brain is part of the 71% of water that fills our bodies. So
Right.
that again gives us weight because, as we say, water is a heavy substance.
Mm.
So water is there, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then the next question I have is, why isn't acid one of the chemicals? Is acid not a
Well,
chemical?
well, the acid is a product really of a chemical, isn't it? Really. Now, of course, we
All
get
right.
acid made within our bodies. I mean, they say, don't they, acid